relationships and the games people play. I am so happy I have a chance to be quite candid about dating and the hurtful things that other people do that aren't even in the relationship. A relationship is a choice. It's a decision between two who choose to be in it. And what happens is you have sometimes friends, cousins, neighbors, other people getting involved in a relationship that was based on an agreement. And I'm talking about what I went through, my personal experience growing up with relationships of choice and then relationships where I had no choice, okay? And now that I'm 49 years old, I'm making different types of decisions about who I choose to be in a relationship with. And I chose to be in a marriage. Now, if you would have asked me over 10 years ago if I was going to get remarried, I would have said no. And I prayed for a husband and I prayed that I would meet the right one that God chose for me. So, working through this one particular topic is a lot easier now than it was yesterday. Okay. Now, I want to be specific about the people that have played games with me. Hurtful, lying, cheating went on. And when you are hurt, you're not the same person after that. And what happens is there was no misunderstanding. I flew off the handle and I knew what was going on after the fact, though. Okay. When I was 16 years old, I had dated somebody and a man approached my home and I don't even know how he got my address. Okay. Now, you know how teenagers are. They just, are flirty. Well, that's what I did. And I was accused of cheating. And coming from a family full of cheaters and around people who cheated on each other, I was devastated by the accusation. So, all these years later, I'm just now healing from those cheating relationships. It took me down such a terrible road. It says in the Bible not to cause someone to stumble. It caused me to stumble in almost every area of my life. And I was only 15 years old, meaning you're too young to know what you're doing. You're going to make your mistakes when you're young. That's when to make them. You don't want to make that mistake when you're married, though. And some people say it's a character flaw, and I say, well, if you come from a dysfunctional home, you're going to have to unlearn some things that were taught. Some of it is learned behavior. And relationships are, you learn from the people around you. So when you're in a dysfunctional home, you're going to pick up some behavior things. Like I picked up behavior problems that are things that you have to unlearn or untrain yourself. And a lot of it is subconscious. And it makes me realize that there was sexual abuse and abuse issues that maybe haven't been discussed in my family or in family counseling. We've been in family counseling before, so I can tell you I know this topic a little bit better. And the games that people play are pretty obvious. You know what I mean? Whenever they're protecting him from me, it's better that the relationship had ended, okay? Because obviously no one was there to defend or look out for my needs at all. And the whole point of being in a relationship is to look out for one another's needs and not make accusations. Once you start making accusations of each other, especially if they're not true, that changes the relationship. My dad was accused of some things and it was not true. And I think it's worse. The accusations are worse than the actual thing that happened. And whenever you go around accusing your ex-girlfriend of cheating and telling people this, see, this is what my ex-boyfriend did. He had everybody believing that I was using him. Because I'm going to tell you, after going through a broken home and a broken marriage, the conversation changes. When you're married, Your marriage has to be a priority, and it means putting God first. Okay. And I told my ex this. I said, thank you for introducing me to Jesus Christ, because I have a walk today with the Lord, something I did not really have. I mean, I was 9 years old when I accepted Jesus. So I can thank him for being kind enough to take me to church. Because in a foster home, we weren't going to church. There was a lot of abuse going on. And I wanted to say about why we have X's and O's, because there's a lot to that. X's and O's. Playing football, sports, roughhousing. That was kind of like our way of like venting and taking off steam and, having fun. To have fun. When you come from a dysfunctional home, you're rigid, and it's frustrating and harsh, and the harsh treatment and the harsh words that are used. That's what we were becoming. We were becoming this harsh, very judgmental, hardened people. And love softens us, and then it reaffirms us. So when I realized what kind of marriages that I was around growing up, and I was around people that were cheating, I realized that that's not what I wanted. I knew right away when I was younger, I did not want that way of life for myself, and I wanted better. I made a decision. I remember praying that night. I prayed to God when we were sitting there with no heat in our house, and our house is falling apart, that please God help us. Please God help us that we don't have to live this way anymore. Living in the desperate, impoverished conditions that I lived in. And I have been blindsided and upset and hurting for a long time. So when I communicate to my ex-boyfriend or my friend or my neighbor or a cousin or somebody I got to know on Facebook who went to high school, I mean, there are all forms of relationships that have come out of this that I didn't realize that I was going to have these unique attachments. I feel good about communicating with my ex. I feel like I needed to let him know that I was being protective, and that's normal coming from the dysfunctional home that I came from. And I had therapy, and I have been very fortunate to meet and talk to June Hunt from Hope for the Night. I want to suggest to you about the games that people play. Their relationships are one thing. Hurting somebody with games is manipulation, and that's control, and that's somebody that is not a relationship person. Not everybody's cut out for relationships. Remember where we started and where we're going to end. Relationships are a choice. And you choose to be in that relationship with that one person. It didn't say I was in a relationship with this one, and this one. It's a relationship of choice. And there's a book called Love is a Choice, and that is exactly what relationships are. It's supposed to be about love. And I had to forgive our sex offender. And I've had to forgive a lot of people through this. And I think the only way I could have ever really done that is prayed my way through it. And I told other people this on the broadcast on July 27th. And I'm going on another broadcast about this, about child abuse. Anytime somebody is a survivor of child abuse, there's going to be a bunch of things that are going to come up. Like at 49 years old, I'm just now starting to deal with that difficulty, that learning disabilities. I was not the smartest kid in the school. I was having difficulties in school. I was having difficulties pulling the grades. I did not have a good comprehension. I was good at drawing and art. So when I tell you love is a choice, so is all the other things that we're going to be talking about in these broadcasts and these vlogs about relationships, about healthy relationships. And believe me, the second segment is going to be just as good as the first one. Thank you for listening.